My name is Maria Loftus, and I am one of the admissions consultants here at Kaplan, and I'm an admissions consultant for medical school. We are so happy to have you join us today. Prior to having joined Kaplan, I was the Assistant Dean of Recruitment and Admissions at the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine. I was there for about 20 years, and I really loved it. But one of the things I liked most about my time with UC San Diego was that I represented the Western medical schools to the National Association, well, the National Committee on Admissions for the Association of American Medical Colleges. And I did that for about 10 years. I was both a representative of the Western schools as well as chairing the committee. What was really special about being the chair of the committee was that I worked with admissions committees across the country, trained them with best practices. And while I was there to train them, they were actually training me as well, because I was learning how different schools did things differently than my own. You always kind of think that whatever you do, everybody else must be doing also. And while there certainly are overlaps between what schools do, there's also a lot of nuance to it. Well, now I get to share that expertise that I developed with my clients here at Kaplan. And it's a lot of fun to work with people and help them put forward their best application and to see them go on to be successful. Joining me today is Sarah Adams, and we're going to be practicing some interview questions. So Sarah, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, and thank you. My name is Sarah. I am currently a medical student, and today I'm going to be posing as an interviewee.
So we're going to be starting, well, actually today we're just going to be doing a behavioral question. So Sarah, can you tell me about a time when you turned a negative into a positive?
Yes, I can. So I really struggled with my grades in college. And for a long time, I saw that as a negative. And ultimately, it forced me to take a little bit of time off after school. And what that allowed me to do was to really explore what it meant to work within the healthcare field. So a lot of my classmates who had much better grades than I did went straight through to med school. And some of them did really well. Some of them did extremely well. The fact that I didn't have those grades allowed me to really get experience and make sure that this was what I wanted to do. And ultimately it was that energy and that assuredness that let me get through, the MCAT and the med school application process up to this point.
And if you could just follow through and say a little bit more about how you talked about your grades and talked about your experience at your interview.
So yes, absolutely. I definitely got questions about it, which was something I was really nervous about. And I did have, a prepared response, and I knew what I had been doing for the past couple of years. And I also knew that I had to work extra hard to get a really good MCAT score. So when I came to my interviews, they said, "What happened?" I said, I was in, my early 20s. I had 3 jobs. Like, my grades don't matter. What I can show you is that I've been a stellar employee within healthcare for 3 years, and my MCAT scores are good enough. And some of the admissions directors said, that's not going to work for you. Like, for us, we need you to go back and get a post back. And I said, thank you for your feedback. I'll keep that in mind. And ultimately, I got in and didn't have to do a post back. And I'm glad that I stuck to my guns.
Well, thank you. So as I mentioned, this is a behavioral question. And there's generally 3 different types of questions that medical schools ask. One of them is behavioral, which is asking you to reflect back on a time in your life when you did or you experienced whatever it is that the question is asking. And when you get that kind of question, just like Sarah did, it is reflecting factually on what happened, but then immediately turning to what did you learn? How did you grow? And if you had a subsequent experience in which you were able to apply that knowledge, how did that work out? And some questions will even lend themselves for you to be able to say, how did that depth of experience, that changed perspective, that extra maturity, how is that going to help you be a better doctor? So look for opportunities in a behavioral question to take it beyond just what the question is asking and turn it always into a positive. What did you learn in that experience? So Sarah, you did mention that you actually got this question at your interview, correct?
Yes. So it was hard because going into interviews, I already felt like I was a little bit on the defensive, especially after the first time I got that question. And I was like, man, I thought I was prepared for that, but I totally wasn't. And, you know, even as hard as being asked about it was, like, I was glad I didn't have to bring it up most of the time.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
And I also can appreciate, and I'm sure our audience can too, that even when you practice a response, something that you're really, you know, anticipating, and you can practice that response in your head, but practicing it in your head versus having it come out of your mouth in real time is very different. And it does speak to the fact that practicing for an interview is probably well worth your time to do. So if you have any questions, please just write them in the comment section below and we'll be sure to get back to you. And if you need help with your application or preparing, you know, might be a couple years before thinking about medical school and you just got questions, or you might be preparing for your interview right now. If you need help, we're here. Thanks.